We are weaving our lives. We are weaving our hearts and our minds. We are weaving the bright and dark threads of love journeys through these.
Welcome to the Sovereignty Time podcast. Join me in Circle, where we share the experiences of womanhood from the lens of radical self-responsibility, choosing bliss and ease over victimhood and struggle. I want to know how women are claiming sovereignty, manifesting their dream lives, and thriving in motherhood, partnership, health, and wealth. We are here to share vulnerable stories, encouraging each other as we weave the light and dark threads that create the messy but beautiful tapestries of our lives. Okay, welcome back. My name is Hannah Rose, and this is Sovereignty Time Podcast. I am back with Celia today, and we are just gonna do some musing on motherhood. But first, I wanted to do a little grounding and just start with kind of a check-in. So, and we have our little baby. What's her name again?
Isla.
Isla. Okay.
Baby Isla.
Baby Isla, cutie. Hi. Yeah, she's also with us, so you might hear from her. So I just want to do a little grounding really quick for anybody that wants to join in, and just for myself too, because it can be a little nervous, getting on a recording. So I'm just going to take some deeper breaths and presence myself more and into my body. So I'm just going to expand my lungs more and slow down my breathing. Maybe count to 4 and hold it for 4 and release it for 4. Just a little bit more conscious breathing. Yeah, and just bringing ourselves back to heart center, reminding that earth is under us and we are supported and secure. Just mobilizing with your exhale, releasing all of the things on our shoulders, letting it all go. Okay, thank you. So, little just mini check-in. I know you've done a lot since last time we talked, and I had some important news happen in between the time frames. So yeah. Oh my gosh, I know. I'm expecting a baby now, which is crazy.
So much can happen in a month. Or has it been 2 months since we talked?
It's been almost a couple months, maybe. Yeah, so I'm very excited about that and feeling finally coming out of that. I'm 7 weeks now, so I've been really tired, not nauseous, but just very exhausted. And I'm finally feeling a little bit better. So
That's great.
I'm excited for that. Yeah, so that's my little check-in. How are you?
Does it feel different? Does it feel different than your first pregnancies in that window?
Yes, so different. My other ones have been a lot of nauseousness for sure. And that was the biggest thing. And then this one, I'm not at all, so it's very different. And I'm very excited about that. So, and I'm not going to find out the sex. So, and I have 2 boys, so hoping for a girl. That would be so fun.
Ooh, it's gonna be a surprise.
Yeah.
Oh, my check-in. I don't even know. That grounding is so good. I need more of that. I could have just stayed in that for the next half hour because I went from like cooking lots of food, meal prep stuff, and then quickly making mac and cheese for my 2-year-old, and then putting him down for a nap, and then running in here, nursing the baby. Um, it feels like go, go, go all the time. And my almost 4-year-old was sick all week, so she just went back to school today.
Oh,
And yeah, I'm just momming it up and getting ready for the holidays, and still haven't cleaned my room since we got back from Cambodia and everything exploded all over the floor. Um, yeah, it's great. And also I've been having some dreams and little signs that maybe it's time to like move back slowly into birth work. I have like 3 home birth people who've reached out to me in the last month interested in birth support. So I'm like, oh wow.
wow.
I didn't know I was ready for that. Who knows? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. We'll see.
Yeah. 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 I feel like that's a tricky thing. I supported a birth when my last one was 6 months old. And it was interesting because I was pumping and, during the birth.
Mhm.
And it was a long birth. I didn't even actually even end up staying till the end. So that was interesting, because I was like, I wanted to be out and doing the work, but at the same time, it was like looking back on it now, I guess 6 months feels young to me, maybe. But
Yeah.
it's so hard when you're in it to kind of know.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. I mean, it's when you have a little one at home, like a part of you is, especially if you're breastfeeding or pumping, like still lactating, then a part of you is always with them, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I made the mistake of interviewing and taking clients while I was still pregnant with my second. And so I had births coming up like when she was 3 months old, and then
Mm.
one of my clients went into labor early, so she was 2 months old, and I
Oh
had to
my
go to the
gosh.
hospital and like be in a
Oh,
whole induction, like stressful labor thing, and
yeah.
that was way too early. So the next
Yeah.
couple babies that I had, I was like, definitely
Yeah.
nothing before 6 months.
Yeah, that's like the cutoff for sure.
Yeah.
And I even
And
told my
now she's six
husband,
months, but I
yeah,
don't know if it really
yeah,
feels totally feasible yet. It
yeah,
depends. Yeah.
yeah. I guess you just have to sit with it for yourself. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like because I also did some other part-time work around 6 months, and I mean, that was at least a little bit better in the sense of it was like a 7-hour day, a couple days a week. And my
Hmm.
husband was with the baby, so at least it wasn't. I don't know. It's just a little different than a
Yeah.
on-call birth that could be
This
2 days and could be
yeah,
stressful. And yeah, but even
so
just going to work,
unpredictable.
yeah, even just a little part-time, I feel like it makes me feel for and kind of resonate with the moms that go back to work full time right away. I think that kind of being separated from your baby so early, I don't know. But I just feel like it'd be so intense. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I can't imagine for like
Yeah.
full-time work away from baby. So
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
So hard.
So sending love to
Yeah.
those
I'm grateful.
mamas. Yeah, I feel blessed too that I've been able to stay with mine mostly.
Yeah.
So okay, Cambodia with a 6 month, almost 6 month old.
Yeah, she was almost 6 months when we went, and I was not sure about going because it's super hot there, and I just imagining being that hot and sweaty with a baby on me. I'm like, how are we gonna do this? Might not go well, but we did it. I live my life kind of, well, I kind of like FOMO. I'm like, if I don't go, I'm gonna miss out on all of this cool stuff. And also, I've just always vowed to like throw my hat over the fence and see what's
Yeah.
over there. So we had this opportunity to go, and my sister-in-law, who lives in Germany, we flew her over here to take care of our three other kids. And so we just took the baby, and it was kind of like in the beginning, bless you,
Yeah. The one
when
baby.
we only had one kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
we traveled a lot more back then. Yeah, if anybody has questions about traveling with infants, I have a lot of experience.
You got the
Um,
details.
I've got the deets, yes, the do's and the don'ts. And yeah, so that was kind of exciting to be able to like act like we just had one baby for
Yeah.
for a while, for a week.
So did she just like sleep on you a lot?
Yeah, she was on me in the heat all the time. I got a couple of little portable fans that I had going a lot, and we stayed in the shade. But
Yeah.
she did amazing. We were with a group of people, and everybody adored her, of course. So she was passed around to everyone, and all the locals are just so nice. Such kind people who also adore babies. And um yeah, she just did amazing. She wasn't really fussy. She was just there for it. She slept well. So I got lucky.
Yeah.
Uh and I love something about like going to a completely different country, like really different culture, and exposing my baby to everything there, their food and smells and you know all of the stuff that she can kind of get her hands on and interact with at a young age. I think that's really cool and special, even though she's not going to remember it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think for any child in general, it's such a great thing to have that in their life because when we're just here all the time, and I mean, typically I have been with my kids just here in the US, and I mean, we've done a little bit of traveling within the country, but I haven't taken them outside the country, but I feel like that would be amazing. And even doing more traveling here, because we do have quite a bit of variation in just weather
Oh
and
yeah,
people and things like that. But definitely different countries. I think it would be amazing. It's like an education within itself. And that's like a
totally.
dream for me to be able to travel with my kids, but then have maybe not full time, like still have a home base to come back to, but be able to do that on a more regular basis.
Yeah. I think you're closer to being able to do that than I am too, because your kids are getting older. Well, you are having another one, so maybe not. But yeah, like I'm afraid of doing that right now with my 2-year-old because he is just full on.
Yeah.
But the 7-year-old, totally independent now. 4-year-old is pretty much following the 7-year-old. So
Yeah.
like I feel like that's when it gets easier and more fun. But also like babies and 1-year-old is great. It's just those like little toddler years.
The
It's like,
two and three, man, yeah, because mine is 2.5 right now, also, and it's just it is so full on. They're just learning so much, like how to be in the world and
yeah,
all the phases, like
like
the
they're not
screaming,
gonna
this
sit down on a 14-hour
no.
flight.
Oh my gosh, no. I was with my first one on. I took him alone with me on several flights, like three, I think at least. And I think, some were when he was a baby, but there was one when he was a bit more mobile, and that was so hard. I think it was an 8-hour
Yeah,
flight, and just
yeah.
they just don't understand. So, you're trying to walk them up and down the aisles. And then oh my gosh, a travel story was that I was on a plane, and of course it was just me and my son, and there was of course other children on the plane. And this guy, an older gentleman, and he was up closer to the front of the plane, and my child had been fine, and but there had been some other kids that were crying or making noise or something. And so when I was walking up the aisle with my son, just either for fun or to go to the restroom or whatever, he like made a point to say something to me about like, when kids are having a hard time on the airplane, it's totally okay to just, give them some medicine or something like that.
Oh my
And
God.
I can't even remember what I said. I really just can't at this point, because that was like 6 years
You
ago.
blocked it
But I
out.
just remember that guy saying something like that and just being like, oh my gosh, okay, like I don't need someone telling me this, especially some older dude. Like, what
Yeah.
is
Do you
happening?
know?
And my kid wasn't even crying. It was just some other random kids. Like, oh my gosh. It's ridiculous. Like,
Mostly people are really sweet and helpful in travel situations, but there are for sure some random times where people say really out of pocket things.
yeah. And that's true. The balance of that is that there are really sweet random people out there that know, like maybe they once had young children, or they just kind of understand, and like, or they're sitting next to you and they're, playing peekaboo or whatever. And I saw a
Yeah.
girl posting about that recently, who is like a single mom. She was traveling by herself with her, I don't know, baby slash toddler. And she was just saying how many amazing people she met, and how sweet people were, and just like going above and beyond, especially traveling alone
Oh,
without a partner.
yeah.
So there's definitely a
We
lot of
need
that
more
for
of that.
sure. Yeah.
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 I've got some funny travel stories too.
Yeah. Any little short ones you want to share?
Oh gosh, the one that came to mind is well, I guess, was I pregnant with? No, I had a baby, my third baby. My husband was in Arizona and we decided to go meet him there. And so I was going to fly alone with my three kids. And so we're in the airport at the gate, and then my oldest needed to go poop. So I leave the stroller at the gate, first mistake. The baby I put in the baby carrier on me, and then I bring my 2-year-old with me to go help our older one go poop in the bathroom. So I'm wiping his butt, and then my 2-year-old runs out of the bathroom
Of course.
and down just like five gates away.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh.
like kind of panicking. And then thankfully some other lady like gathers her up, gathers up my 2-year-old, brings her back to the gate, and she's like, I got her, I'll watch her for you while you finish up in the bathroom. She saved the day.
That's so
But it was
sweet.
just like, you can imagine yourself in that moment with a baby on you, wiping your other kid's butt, and your 2-year-old running away from you in an airport. It's just like the worst situation.
That's rough.
But it's a great, great story. Hilarious memory.
Yeah. You made it through. Yeah, I think that's just
Oh, yeah.
yeah, when they're so mobile like that and you're in the bathroom, it's like always a worry, kind of, to a certain degree, like, okay, please don't, because they can open the door at a certain point and just run out, or like,
Yeah.
when you're going to the bathroom and they're like, all right, bye mom.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Or they're just
Exactly. Yeah.
touching everything, and it's like, don't touch anything.
I know, like laying on the bathroom floor. Yeah. Lesson learned, from now on, all the children will be buckled into the stroller
Yes.
while I am wiping the other kid's butt.
Yeah, the two slash 3-year-old little rascals. They get
Yes.
locked in the stroller from now on.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I was gonna have notes, and I was actually today was on Friday mornings. My husband and I have been committing to do our weekly check-in, like a relationship, check-in, and like a date
I like
lunch.
that.
Yeah. So we got kind of wrapped up, and I didn't have as much time to prep. And then I was thinking, um, I had like a thought flow in my mind, but like right now I feel like my mind is just mush right now. And not that it's even the pregnancy, I think just being busy. And like tonight we're gonna go with all the cousins and see this big Christmas light display, and then spend the
Oh,
night at
that's fun.
my oldest brother's house. And then tomorrow is my siblings' Christmas dinner, lunch celebration.
Wow.
So,
So
and then we have like
busy.
a birthday party the next day after that, which is just like a short little party, but yeah, it just feels nonstop all the time.
Yeah. There's a
Um,
theme here.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah. I briefly skimmed over the notes you sent me a while ago. Um, and what was it about? Mothering and relationships. And here, do you want this? And now my mind is blank too. But I can, I remember what came to mind when I was reading those notes. So I can share something there, and then maybe that will spark
yeah, what did
your
you think of
your
the topic notes?
yeah. So, at first when you asked me to do this podcast, I'm like, how am I going to talk about like motherhood, like flow, and just as if I'm an expert on anything. I'm like, I'm failing every day, all the time. Um, but something kind of opened up for me last night, which was so interesting. Um, and I feel like it's all connected. So like my marriage and my relationship to life and my relationship to my kids and my relationship to mothering, like I so much of the time am in this like kind of default mode, I guess we all are, of for me it's like it's kind of being a victim. I'm like, oh, I have so much work to do. Like all this housework and I'm always behind on it and there's always messes, and once I clean something then the kids throw a bunch of other stuff all over the floor, and I'm too tired or just like not interested in having sex because I'm so drained from all of the other stuff that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
And I look back and I'm like, what? Like I'm just like dragging. I'm like complaining. Um I'm I'm not even playing with my kids. And it's still a mess. My house is still a mess, even though I spend all of my time cleaning and cooking. Would you like some milk? Okay. We're gonna get on the boob here, and then it'll be quiet again.
Snack
So I
break.
don't know. I don't know what yeah, snack break. I don't know what like prompted this last night, but we're all in the living room. My husband is like practicing piano or something, which I always get resentful about because I'm like, there's so much work to do, and you're sitting here playing piano.
Yeah.
So he's doing that, and then the other kids are doing whatever, and eventually we're all sitting there and being silly, and then this like battle breaks out, like a play battle where the kids and I are chasing each other. I think my 7-year-old got mad about something, and I've started practicing turning it around by being playful and not really like engaging with his angry persona as much. And so somehow I turned it around with this game of chase, and then we're like, having a pillow fight and tackling each other, and then we get my husband involved, and I realized something. By the end of this, I'm like sweating and my heart's beating faster. I'm like, wow, this is actually, I don't remember my body feeling like this in a while. It was just like play, and I hadn't played like that in so long. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I could be putting this thing away and cleaning up that. Those things
Yeah.
need to get done, but I was so present in that moment to like, this is the most important thing. Like this is what's building the relationship with my kids that I want to have when things are tough. And
Mm-hmm.
then like throughout the rest of the night, even not interacting with my kids, but like after they go to bed, I'm like more flirty with my husband and having fun with him, and it just like hit me by the end of the night that like the key here for me is play. Like I'm so
Mm-hmm.
significant about life all the time, about things needing to get done or not being good enough,
Yeah.
and it's never going to get done anyway, or there's always going to be more to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, duh, why not have fun? Like, can we
Yeah.
just have a little more fun?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so interesting
That's my
that,
story.
yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that. And also remembered a side note of the other thing. I had like another topic, but like, I'm so glad that you brought that up. And it's so funny because the thing with play has been coming up a lot for me recently. Like, it's, in life sometimes where there's a theme that will just kind of keep presenting itself somehow,
Mm-hmm.
like this synchronistic, weird, spiritual, like, how is like even right now you talking about this, it's another like, wow, that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I watched on Katya Nova's Wealthy Woman Vaults, one of the classes is playful prosperity, and that was such a good talk. So like so inspiring, and just like linking our financial like um I guess like mentality or outlook, like remembering that within the spirit of play there's so much openness and creativity, that it's a really good link between money and just the way that our mindset is around money. And because there's like one of the examples he gave was, um there's different like sayings that you'll hear about it, and I'm like, I don't think I'm just gonna say this right, but there's a time for work and there's a time for play. And
Uh-huh.
challenging those stories that we've been taught, those beliefs, they're so deeply ingrained within us. And it doesn't have to be like that. It's not true. Like, what is true, anyways? But yeah, we can be playful and we can be working too at the same time. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
especially in motherhood, and I just started not even 2 weeks ago following an Instagram account called, I believe it's called Playful Heart Parenting, and I highly recommend it to everybody because she's so cute. She has a tiny baby, smaller than yours, and other kids, and she's just has, I think she might be a therapist, but they are super into play, and they have all, like, they have some resources that they're starting to build, and just super fun games, just really just so cute, and just a lot of it's like really short, cute little things, easy to remember. And a lot of times, when you're in an argument, or your kid, exactly like what you said about your 7-year-old when he's angry, like not engaging with that. And because I also have a 7-year-old, and it's being able to like flip that and use a different tool, which playfulness is a tool with our parenting skills. So
Yeah.
yeah, I totally resonate and encourage you to keep doing that. And I, you know, I have been more playful recently, and I want to just continue to build on that for sure. And yeah, there's always more work to do, always more cleaning, cooking, all the things. And it's funny, yeah, my husband, I would say, we've been together for going on 12 years, and he's definitely the more playful, spirited, you know. So, and I'm very serious, like you're talking about, more serious about life in general, and things need to get done. And I don't want to jump on the trampoline right now, or whatever the thing is, but it does, I think it has been helping our relationship. And even in our check-in this morning, and even just before today, he's also, when I put more effort into being more playful, and not only that, just being more affectionate with my children in general, he always notices, and he tells me that he really appreciates it. So I feel like
Mm.
it's been a relatively new development, and something that I want to continue to work on for sure.
That's funny
Yeah.
that it's a a new thing for both of us, that it's coming up now,
Yeah.
and yeah, something cosmic about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's so simple, and it's just not like part of the default way of operating for maybe a lot of moms, because we maybe have more of the duties around running the house and the kids and managing all of that. I don't know. Maybe that's just a made up reason or excuse. My husband also is like working like crazy, but he is also more of the naturally playful one.
Hmm.
And yeah, so much of the time I'm like, how can you be like this? Like, and I think part of it is that their brains just work differently. Like,
Yeah.
they have the one task that's in front of them, and they're not concerned with all the other tasks until they get to that task, whereas we are like thinking about everything all at once. I'm like,
Yeah.
those cabinets need to be reorganized, and I need to go grocery shopping, and we need this and that for these meals, and the kids need new clothes for this, like whatever, it's all present in my mind all the time. And he just doesn't worry about anything that's not right in front of him.
Yeah, it's like we're
Maybe,
multitasking, but to a detriment, because then it's hard for us to really just be present and playful.
yeah.
I
So it's
feel.
like, it's simple, eh, but hard. And yet, like, it's all practice, right? Like,
Hmm.
it's a subtle thing that we can implement in any moment that we think about it, that we can, or maybe, when we come up against something, when our
Yeah.
7-year-old is mad about something, or
Yeah.
I don't know, that, maybe I'm just thinking of this now from my hypnobirthing training, that in hypnobirthing we create anchors, which is basically like a signal for yourself to relax and soften more deeply. And maybe in our everyday life as a mom, we create these anchors or signals for play. Like, what, maybe it's, I mean, it could really be anything, but I remember my hypnobirthing one was like every time I put my hands on the steering wheel in my car, I take 3 deep breaths, and then it becomes automatic for you. So, we can create little things like that in our day-to-day life. That's something that I am just declaring right now that I'm going to take on.
Yeah. I love that, like the tool of how do I incorporate this? How do I incorporate it into my daily life and these triggers that might be happening with my kids, and just the example with the breathing anchor, we can find little ways. And I mean, even I can't think of a lot off the top of my head, but when my 7-year-old's upset, sometimes like just a distraction, um and just being like, it's like, hey, well, let's just, why don't we play this? Or, trying to get more into that, make them laugh, tell a joke or have some kind of practice,
Yeah.
or, learn something, like if you're learning little tricks from the IG account I was talking about, And I think that's something too, like we just recently took a parenting class. There's a lot of great resources out there, and because God knows I don't feel like I've naturally just a great parent, a resourced parent that can keep it together when I'm triggered or my kids are melting down. So it's a
Yes,
skill
me
set
too.
that needs to be learned for most people, I think. I mean, maybe there's people out there that are more natural at it, but because you have kids and it's like, oh, you just have the kid and you just kind of figure it out as you go along. But I think there really is a need for education around, okay, how can I do this a little bit more successfully? And it's especially when your kids are having repetitive negative behaviors, and it's like, okay, how do I help get this under control? And
Hmm.
sometimes we need to learn new tools and resources.
For sure.
So I've
I
been
I
grateful.
I want more resources. Yes, let's let's link some down here so I can explore more too. I mean, I was a nanny for years before I became a mom, and I was an excellent nanny. Like I had multiple kids at a time, and we had a schedule, and we had so much fun, and I just like had it dialed in. and and so I went into having kids that way, like from that mindset. Week 1, it was over. Like I it actually stressed me out so much that it occurred to me that, oh, like I get to do this whole parenting, momming thing any way that I want. So we are making it up as we go. And that was actually kind of liberating for me. Um, but then time goes on, and we're not very resourced in our environment, right? Because we're not sleeping well, maybe, and um, we don't have a lot of time to just do things for ourselves or to be with our partner. Like it's not normal, I think, biologically, to live the way we do, where we're doing so much on our own. And like I just have my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law here for a few weeks, and the amount of help that I'm getting with, like, we're sharing things, right? Like we're trading off cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids. And um I can't believe that I'm doing all of that by myself most of the time. And yeah, just like we're in general, we're under resourced.
Yeah.
Right? And so, yeah, when my 7-year-old or any of my kids are having a fit about something, a lot of the time I react, and like I'm triggered, and
Hmm.
because I'm not coming from having a full cup myself. I'm like so easily triggered, and don't know how to regulate my own feelings, then I'm not being helpful to my kid. Yeah, it just feels so like powerless so much of the time. And yeah, just yesterday I noticed a difference when I brought play into it, where, I'll acknowledge his feelings. I'm so sorry that you can't have a play date with your friend. We'll plan something soon. And then of course he's still mad about it and he wants to like punish me, or he's like, you're never gonna let me have a play date with him or something like that. And after acknowledging his feelings, if he wants to keep going down that road, I start talking about farts or something, and and it works.
Yeah.
They're
Oh my
not too
gosh.
too hard of a sell. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have so much to teach us also, just their ability to move on from things, or to pivot, and yeah, I think they don't hold on to things as much as we do also.
Yeah. That's the thing I was going to bring up, was that Hannah Grace had shared the other day on her Instagram page that motherhood is reciprocal, because I think we can get sucked into this feeling that we're just giving, 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 and then it can feel like it leads to exhaustion and being depleted and overwhelm and these things, which is kind of I feel like, unfortunately, this mainstream narrative about motherhood. But um when you look at it from this perspective of choice, of course, and like, back to the book Portal, and
Mm-hmm.
like that we can choose bliss in any moment, not just in birth, but in motherhood and our relationships. And that can be, that word bliss could be, you could replace it with anything, because any positive sort of thing, putting it into like, what does bliss mean? Okay, well, if you are able to use play to transmute this situation
Mm-hmm.
with your 7-year-old and they're melting down, and I've had literally the same exact meltdown happening with the friend dates, um having practices like that. And so you are choosing bliss because you're choosing to use a tool, which is play, to transmute and turn into something more positive and get them to change into a happier mind state.
Mm-hmm.
And just the
100%.
reciprocalness too, of, and like what you were saying, we have so much to teach us, and it's like for us to work on and grow out of being triggered, or if we are triggered, being able to be more resourced and use new tools to
Mm-hmm.
shift and be grounded and be the leader that our kids need, because they have so much less experience than we do, and they need to be shown by example how to be when
Exactly.
they're upset.
Yeah. Like I want this. I want to practice this for them, like
Yeah.
I we're learning it together. Exactly as you
Mhm.
said, like as I do this, um as I learn how to regulate my own emotions and not react when I'm triggered, or to actually consciously choose a different path when I'm triggered, like that is, we're learning together. They're getting that opportunity as well.
Yeah, and we can even say something like, so they're even aware too of like, I'm admitting like, hey, I'm feeling pretty frustrated right now, but I'm just gonna take some deep breaths. Or sometimes I even like, what, I'm gonna move myself away from this right now because I don't want to say something that I regret. I'm gonna go sit in the living room for a couple minutes and then I'll come back and we
Mm-hmm.
can finish this something. So they're aware sometimes too that like we are having a process too, and we're trying to put effort
Yeah.
into not just exploding or whatever. the thing is.
Yeah, totally. Oh gosh, yeah. I see my dad in myself. um when you say that, I think about myself exploding because that's my kind of go-to reaction. And that's what I was raised with. Like, I learned that way of dealing with uncomfortable or frustrating feelings because that's what my dad did. Even though my mom was super chill from my memory, my dad would get angry and like angry outbursts. And I just get so disappointed with myself when I do that with my kids. I'm like, this is what I'm teaching them.
Mm,
But you know what? No one's perfect. And that's why we're having this conversation, and that's why we practice and we're learning.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I have a similar experience with my dad being like that. And yeah, weirdly, um, thinking about, recently I've had some stuff come up and my husband kind of pointed it out, not like in an accusatory way, but in a way I never looked at it before of like you like I was showing up in a way, one of the ways that my dad was in the negative way, and I was like, oh my gosh, I never really thought about that before. But
Mm.
yeah, not wanting to repeat these cycles, and that's I think part of our work here for sure, in our motherhood journeys and in our relationships, figuring out and learning how to have healthier dynamics and relationships and help create these little people, humans for the world that can be healthy and
Yes.
secure and thriving and not like, they're going into adulthood with all this trauma from their childhood because we had all our trauma from our childhood and it was just like this vicious cycle.
And give them these powerful tools and practice these tools together so that it isn't so hard for them, hopefully, right?
Yeah, right. That's the goal.
That's the goal. And like I I have a great relationship with my parents, and I really want to have that with my kids when they're older. I want to be hanging out, spending
Yeah.
time with my grandkids and all that. But yeah, yeah, it's like I think I was like running into a wall so much of the time when I'm like, how do I resource myself? How, like, I don't have time for self-care or um like, what does self-care even mean for me? And how do I like control myself when I'm triggered? And none, I wasn't finding the answer with any of that. And then just this experience last night was it allowed me to see something in a new way. Um, so I'm really excited. I had to write it in my little daily journal. The key is play. Just
Yeah,
practice.
for real. The key is play. I love that. It's so true. It's definitely an incredible thing to be incorporating into our everyday lives.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a separate, distinct thing. Like it's something that you can choose to bring into everything that you do. And of course, we won't. We won't do it all the time. Probably most of the time, we will not be bringing in play because we're in our default, like automatic way of being. But the more we practice something, the better we get at it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love playing hide and seek with my kids, even though I feel like we don't do it enough, but little things like that or jumping on the trampoline,
Yes.
um, needing to do more of that.
More
Yeah,
jumping.
yeah. I was just gonna say like, um, last night my 2-year-old spilled a huge, well, we were doing bedtime, we were brushing teeth, him and I brush our teeth, and then my 7-year-old was supposed to come in the bathroom and brush his teeth. But my husband was laying on the bed, and so the 7-year-old starts rubbing his feet, which he does like once in a while. It's kind of a newer little thing. He's just so sweet and like, oh, let me help pamper you, you know. And then, so this has happened a
Oh,
couple other times, and there's been this thing with like the lotion, which didn't start out like that this time. But what happened was my 2-year-old saw him rubbing the feet, and then he thinks, oh, I gotta go get the lotion, and I want to rub Papa's feet too. And so he finishes brushing his teeth, runs out of the bathroom, and I was brushing my teeth, sitting there like, oh my gosh, we're supposed to be getting ready for bed, and so I wasn't watching him, but he goes over to my nightstand, and there's a huge glass of water that I had just put over there recently because I've just been like, I'm not drinking enough water even right now. And he goes to grab the lotion and he knocks it over and it falls. And there was like, it fell on like some electronic kind of things. And
oh no.
my husband was just like, as it was happening, like, no. And then, so
Like
I come out
watching
of the
it
bath.
fall.
I come out of the bathroom and I was like so mad. And because it was like just one of the things that fell on was like really expensive. I had with my hearing aid stuff. And
Oh
I was
no.
like, oh my gosh, just triggered on so many levels because I'm like, I need this water because I'm dehydrated because I'm pregnant, and then you're trying to grab the lotion which you're not even allowed to have. Then you're getting the water on my expensive electronics, and we're supposed to be brushing our teeth, getting ready for bed, and like, babe, what are you
Yes.
doing? Just letting them massage your feet right now? It's not the right time. And I was just like so frustrated. And looking back on it now, of course, and that's actually one of the things we talked about this morning in our check-in, because I went to bed kind of mad. Like I didn't even really apologize, and actually had said something when I was in the bathroom, just like, "Ah, well, that's why I need a water bottle, and like I need more money or something like that." It was like this awful thing to say because I just like, stressed out about money or whatever the thing is, and just an
Mhm.
excuse, and I typically wouldn't say something like that, but like I just have been like I just like let it get to me because I was upset about what
Mhm.
happened. And so it was just an awful situation. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sleep. I was tired too. And so, yeah, instead of taking any accountability on myself before going to sleep and just being like, that was intense and let me just process and I'll come back to it. I wish I hadn't really responded like that. I just went to sleep, and then my husband, I was thinking about it in my mind, but he brought it up this morning, and then I was like, yeah, it does take me a little bit longer sometimes to process stuff, but I want to get better about more immediately being, accountable and like, hey, I'm sorry, and I shouldn't have said that, or it really wasn't that big of a deal and was an accident, but I'm just really tired. I'm going to go to sleep right now. But I just want to take some accountability at least before I go to bed. So just working on that
Gosh.
type of
If
thing for
only we
me.
could be, if only we could be that like aware, self-aware, all the
Yeah.
time. I so relate to that. Yeah, just one like being triggered on so many levels.
Yeah.
And then the reaction to that and saying ridiculous, rude things. I'm in the same
Yeah.
boat as you. Yep, yep.
Yeah. And then our poor kids are just like, this is the example that's being set for them. And it's like, oh my gosh. No.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, one thing we try to do is like come back and talk about these things in front of the kids, even if we're not talking with the kids. And we don't do it all the time, but some often if there's like a negative interaction between my husband and I, we will we'll kind of talk it out in front of them and I think a lot of the time it works well and they see this resolution happen. But gosh, it really takes something sometimes. There's a whole dynamic. Maybe our next podcast we can talk about relationships, partnerships, marriage. But yeah, there's a whole dynamic there of like almost a game where we're both mad and like he wants to win by staying mad, and usually I'm the one who's like, okay, no, let's talk about this because this is a stupid game and we don't need to just act mad at each other all day. Like, let's get to the bottom of this. Oh yeah, that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, so much for sure. So yeah, and yeah, I would love to chat with you about relationships and this like long-term commitment and family that we're building, and it's a lot for sure, and there's a lot of beauty and a lot of challenge at the same time as we're growing.
Yes. Oh yes. I love that. Love the way you pulled that all together to end this episode. A lot of beauty, a lot of challenge. And yeah, I never could have imagined the amount of growth and just the evolution that a long-term committed relationship brings before
Yeah.
I was in it. Never could have imagined. So yeah, looking forward to talking about that next time.
Yes, the tea on marriage. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. I know it's kind of a lot with the little ones, but I had fun chatting, and I hope some other women get some tips and tools and inspiration from our chat. And I'll try to
Yes.
link a couple of the little resources below.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Talk soon.
Yeah, yeah, have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please support by subscribing, reviewing, downloading, and sharing with your friends. The intro song is Weaving Our Lives by Alexa Sunshine Rose.